My jealous mother-in-law tried to poison me after I announced my pregnancy, but she ended up poisoning her own husband instead. Now she is begging us to drop all charges and for her husband to take her back. I, 29F, have been married to my husband Harry for the past 7 years. I love everything about our marriage except the fact he is related to his mother, Kayla, who brings all the negativity into our lives. Now don't get me wrong. I used to love Kayla when I first got to know her, but over time, I have quickly changed my opinion. She is incredibly negative, manipulative, and toxic. I have worked hard for years to avoid getting on her bad side because I know the kind of person she is. In the past, my husband had dated Mill's best friend when he was 17, and later, they broke up because he felt he was pressured into being with her because of Mill. When he turned 23 and found himself single, his mother insisted that he and her other friends should be together, but he refused. They had a huge fight, and she went crying to her husband about how she wanted him to marry someone she felt comfortable with, but his husband didn't really listen to her. When my husband and I met and fell in love, his family were very supportive, but still had consistently treated me with a cold demeanor. Whenever I was around, she would always bring up Harry's exes for no reason and tell him how well they were doing and how he should get back in touch with them. This went on for a while, and I was not the only one who found this weird, as Harry found this weird also, so he would ask her to not bring up his exes continuously. Mill would then get pissed and start taunting me about how I was getting jealous and how he should not be with an insecure person like me. Whenever his parents would call us for dinner, Mill would bring one of Harry's exes telling us how she had stumbled into them that day by accident. Had to invite them for dinner out of politeness. She also checks my Instagram relentlessly even though she doesn't follow me. I have a public account, so I have noticed how she is the first person to check my story. If a guy comments on my photo, she would go to her son and complain about how I was posting inappropriate pictures of myself. Harry and I would literally laugh at her accusations. When Harry and I decided to move in, she urged Harry to break up with him, telling him how I have a lot of flaws as a woman and that she could find someone much, much better than me. This comment honestly hurt me since I had been nothing but nice to her throughout everything. Unfortunately, as soon as me and Harry got engaged, Mill's behavior towards me got even worse. When Harry and I announced our engagement, everyone started congratulating us. I noticed Mill was very quiet, and then she got up from the chair and walked out of our party to everyone's shock. Later, she called Harry crying and screaming about how she didn't appreciate being told the news with everyone else since she thought he was the closest to her, so she deserved to have been the first one to know about his engagement. Later, she sent me a message which was almost borderline threatening, saying how I should be a good wife to her Aeon since she had always been the only woman in his life. The message was so weird that I almost cringed. I didn't even bother replying back to her and left her message at scene, which I know must have pissed her off even more. So started to gradually ignore me anytime she saw me. For some reason, she remained involved with all the wedding activities, like when I went dress shopping and had my bridal shower. She took her criticism of the wedding to a whole new level, openly expressing her discontent with my choices. Despite both my future father-in-law and fiancé calling her out at multiple times, her behavior persisted. One day, while discussing the centerpiece multiple times, her behavior persisted. One day, while discussing the centerpiece with my future father-in-law, mother-in-law overheard and immediately began to mock me, saying how my choice had no class and how this is why she wanted her son to marry someone better. That was the breaking point for me, and I lost my composure. I screamed at her that I couldn't tolerate her constant taunts and criticisms any longer, and I made it clear to her that she was not invited to our wedding anymore. Kayla was shocked, gasping in disbelief as if she had never expected me to stand up to even my father-in-law was furious with her and supported me. Later, Kayla reached out to Harry complaining about how I embarrassed her and insisting that he should control me since I was going to be his wife. Harry told her firmly that he stood by my diss and that if she didn't apologize, she was not going to be invited to the wedding. Begrudgingly, she sent me a heartfelt apology, which I saw and again left it on read. With my wedding preparations, I was already exhausted, and I didn't want to be involved with her drama. In the end, she did end up coming to our wedding because I didn't want her to badmouth us later. Now my wedding had a certain theme of pink hues and pastels, which everyone seemed to have no trouble following, including the guests. However, Sue showed up wearing a black floor-length gown with a veil as if she was coming for a funeral. We were shocked to say the least. Sue went around telling everyone how she was mourning for losing her son to another woman. During the reception, my husband could see that I was uncomfortable with Mill's wedding outfit and confronted her about it. She tried to play the victim by saying that she had the right to wear whatever she wanted and that I was too controlling. Mel and Phil asked her to leave when she wouldn't stop making a scene. It was humiliating for me, and ever since that day, I have steered clear of her. When I gave birth to my son, Nate, I refused to allow Mel anywhere near our baby. She did try to fight it, but my husband and his father-in-law had my back. They understood exactly why I didn't want Mel near my baby and respected my decision. 2 years ago, she had a miscarriage and it completely broke her. It was indeed a sad time for everyone. Harry and I felt sad for her since we already had a child. So after her miscarriage, we decided to be a bit more forgiving. We would invite her to our place so she could bond with our son, Nate. I have to say that she has been surprisingly sweet to our son despite how she behaves with me. In the beginning, she seemed to have changed, but over time, she had gone right back to who she was before. She's always going on about how tough her life is, how things never seem to work out for her, blaming ex-bosses or ex-friends for messing things up in her life. Over time, I have noticed that in her head, she is never wrong. She rarely admits to any fault in conflicts and is constantly trying to get people on her side by playing the victim card.